Hello everyone, SpeedKing125 here. So today I wanted to make a video on making a TAS. So a TAS, just in case you guys don't know, that's short for Tool Assisted Speedrun or Tool Assisted Superplay. So what I want to show you today is just a demonstration of how to make a TAS in case you ever wanted to make a TAS yourself or you just basically wanted to see the process of how it's made. So the emulators that you can use, to my knowledge, is BizHawk, Dolphin, and Citra. Citra is a 3DS emulator. A lot of people know what either BizHawk or Dolphin is, but just to clear that up, it's a 3DS emulator that has a built-in TAS tool. All of them have built-in TAS tools, but those are the most common ones. I'm pretty sure there's others, but I don't know of all of them, so yeah, just to give you that. And also, I have not been making TASes for a long time. I've only been making them for the past few weeks now, so if there's anything that I left out, make sure to put that in the comments below. But I will try my best to explain everything for you guys, just to make it as easy as possible. Either way, making a TAS is still really long. It's a very, very long process, and also depends on the game and what you're doing. You can make a TAS for just an individual level if you wanted to. You don't even have to do the full game. But for now, I'm just going to be showing off one level, because obviously we will be sitting here for hours if I end up showing a full game TAS, but just to walk you through the basics. Anyway, we're going to be using BizHawk today, so let me go and open that up. I'm going to go right on BizHawk, and you can see my window's pretty big. I like to keep the windows pretty big when doing a TAS, so the window size, I always put it to 4 times. You guys can put it to whatever you want. Maybe bigger, 5 times, or just max. Or maybe you want it really small, but either way, I keep mine 4 times. So that's the first thing you want to configure. There is other things. For me personally, I won't be showing it off in this video just because I don't really want to put it up on there. But you can put a bunch of other things on the view. If you go to like FPS and frame counter, you can put all of this stuff on screen. It will not show up on the TAS video, which is good. It's just there to give you clarification, so if you do need a display input or you need anything else like that, that's all good. But for me, I don't need it, so I'm not going to be using it. But yeah, let's go ahead and open, let's say tools. Well, first of all, actually, we need to open up a game, so let me go and do that. I'm going to try to get something very simple for this. You can basically use any game you want. Anything you're into. It's not limited, really. There's a bunch of different platforms you can use on BizHawk, for instance, because like with the other emulators, you're only limited to like, either GameCube and Wii, or just to whatever it's for, PlayStation 2, whatever. But we're going to go with Game Boy Advance, just to keep things very simple. I'll go with the Sonic Adventure 2. I mean, Sonic Advance 2. Not Sonic Adventure. Sonic Advance 2. And, yeah, you can see my window got a little bit smaller. That's because it's actually opened up the emulator now. So before we actually get into it, let me go and get the TAS Studio open. So this is what TAS Studio looks like, and let me just kind of space these apart here. I'm going to show you guys exactly what all of this means. So what this is all the information that you have in-game. So this is basically telling you everything. So on the side here, this is the frame counter, so it counts every single individual frame when we actually boot up the game and start playing it. And also this is all the inputs right here. So these inputs for this, it can change. So since I'm playing on Game Boy, there's not really a lot of buttons. But say if you were playing on PlayStation or Sega Saturn or Sega Genesis or anything of that nature, right? They have more buttons. So the buttons might stretch out way over here into like this column or, something like that. But for right now, it's actually pretty short. So what this means is up, down, left, right, start, select, B, A, and L and R. So they always have abbreviations for these. Now, if you're wondering why there's 2 S's, I mean, obviously it makes sense. They're start and select. But in other cases, it may not make any sense because, say, if you were to play PlayStation 1, that won't mean start and select there. There's still going to be the 2 S's. Still going to be there. But what this means is it'll mostly mean like square and start, most likely. So that's like how it can get a little confusing. And then there's going to be obviously other letters here, which you're obviously going to have to just know your button layout. But in case you're having any trouble, if you go over to columns and you're trying to figure out what buttons are what, then it'll tell you right here. So yeah, tilt, X, Y, Z, yeah, all that, up, down, left, right. All the things I just said, basically right here. Power button, I usually don't have mine set to a power button because I usually don't need it. If I do a task, I usually don't need to reset, but if you need it to reset, there it is, power button. But anyway, there's two different ways that you can make a task, which I'm going to demonstrate here. And then what I'll do is at the end of the video, I will put a full video of like what the task actually looks like when it's completed, because I'm not going to be walking you guys through the whole entire level. I'll just walk you through a little bit of bits and pieces just to get you started. So let's go ahead and start the game. So you see the frames are already starting to count down. So you can pause it right here. You have pause, you have rewind, you have fast forward, you can skip a few frames, go back a few frames, all of that. Follow cursor. So I usually keep the follow cursor on. So what this is like right here, you see this blue line. That blue line represents where the cursor is. So when you start the game, or when you, say if you were to jump back here, right, you can come up here to these frames, like right before the Game Boy logo completely loaded in. And then when you press pause again, when you resume, it'll follow it. So it'll go right down with it. So it's always good to have. You can turn it off, but I really don't see the reason why you would ever turn it off, because you do want to keep up with the frames, and when you have to play things back, you're going to want to keep that there. So I recommend that, but I don't know, for other people it may not be the thing that you want. But yeah, so you have save slots down here. These are all save states. You can click on one of these, or if you go to your keys, I'm pretty sure you can configure it in the keys. Yeah, you can do hotkeys, override, all of that for save states. I don't use save states, so that might be a thing for you. Obviously, I've only been doing this for a few weeks, so I'm just giving you the knowledge that I have, guys. So. But this is a very, very basic way of how to make a task. So yeah, you can use save states if you want to. You can rewind things and whatnot. But just to get into the meat here, we are going to hit Q. And when you hit Q on your keyboard, it's going to start recording. And it's recording every single input. So I also don't think I have the controller set up yet. Hold on. Yeah, I don't have the controller set up, so let me do that real quick. Left, right, start, select, B and A, L and R. Okay. So my controls should be fine. Now, it's going to be recording every single input when I unpause. Yep, there we go. So you can see on that column, it's recording everything I'm putting here. So let me put in a name. Put in speed. Alright. So there we go. Game's loaded up. Everything's going good, right? And you can see all the buttons I'm pressing are all on the side there. Every single individual button, right? Just gonna go into game start. Sonic. And this isn't gonna be perfect. We're just gonna go through the game a little bit. You see I'm holding right, jumping, all of that. I can play the game a lot better than this, guys. I'm just briefly going through it as just a little bit of a teaser, if you will. But yeah. So we're gonna do this, then we're gonna pause, then you're gonna press Q again. So that's going to take it off of recording, right? Now this is what you can do. Now that we're not recording anymore, right? It's not going to put any new inputs. There's not going to be any new inputs. You have to do that manually. So now you can see I'm scrolling on the right side on the Task Studio. And you can see all the previous inputs I put in, right? So let's go all the way back to the top. There's going to be a few times where the emulator is going to buffer. It just depends on your computer. Mine tends to buffer a lot sometimes, so yeah. So now what you can do when you get to this part is you can delete every single input if you want to, right? This is how I started. Now, this is a slower process. If you were just going to go through here, right, you just left click and drag, depending on what column it is. So, you know, I press a lot of A, a lot of left. So you can go through here and you can edit everything, right? You can do that. And if you click on the side column, right, you can go right to where you want to go to. So whatever particular frame you want. Skip ahead a few frames, do whatever. Now let's go back to where it started, right? Now here's what you can do. So as you can see, it starts to fade in. And if you're wondering why it goes from green to red here, that's because on the red columns, you can't put any inputs. Like, it's not going to... If you want to, you can put inputs there like this. Like, you know, you can put inputs on it. But the game is not going to pick up on the input. It's not registered. So you want to put everything on the green. So basically, the emulator is telling you, like, look, you can put a bunch of buttons here, but it's not going to do anything. You want to put it on the green. You know, red means stop, green means go, you know, that type of thing. So where it starts to fade in is where I want to start putting my inputs. So if you want to, you can put it honestly anywhere. Like, you have the creativity to do whatever you want with your TAS. So if you want to make it super airtight by every frame, yeah, then by all means, go here, press the A button on this frame, play it back. Okay, that one actually didn't work. Hold on. You might actually have to wait. Yeah. So this is the whole thing of trying to figure out a TAS. Is like, sometimes when you do put in inputs, you can put them too close to each other. Like, basically, these two columns right here, if I put A and B, that's not B. If I put A and B here, these are 1 frame apart, right? And then, you know, obviously you keep going down more, 2 frames apart, 3 frames apart, 4 frames apart, 5, you know, that type of thing. And you really have to do a lot of research on your game. So if you were going to do a TAS, make sure that you know a lot about your game. Like, do a lot of research on the frames. Do a lot of research on the characters, on the character or characters that you're playing as. And definitely know the game inside and out. You know what I mean? Like, obviously do a lot of research before you go into making a TAS, because you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. That way you can actually make a really good TAS. But yeah, so if you go over here and let's try to figure this out. So I definitely can't do it over here. If I go down a little bit, go down a few frames, pretty sure I can press the A button right here. Yep, that went in. And then let's see how early we can start inputting stuff. So if I move right, that obviously didn't work. So what that's basically telling me right now, right, is like, when it's fading in like that, I can't input anything. If I input anything, it's just not going to work. I got to wait until it's fully faded in, all right? So we're just going to go to the frame where it's fully faded. So let's go right here. Hit right. Boom. So you see it went right. It went from 0 to 1 over on the actual game on the left side. So if you go and do that, now here would be the next thing. So this is just basically, this isn't gameplay at all, obviously. You know, this is just us putting in the name for the profile. So the next thing you want to figure out is exactly how many frames can you move at a time. So that was just at least 2 frames apart right there, right? So every 2 frames, I can move right. So let's say if we want to go all the way to S, right? So let's just hit this a few times. We're going to do right, right, right. This takes a lot of left clicking on your mouse, so, you know, eventually it's going to get annoying. You're going to have to take a break and whatnot when you're making a TAS. I would definitely recommend that. Take a lot of breaks in between. But yeah, we see we have the appropriate inputs here. So we have all of our right inputs, moves us from 0 to 8 really fast. So if I come way up here, right, where it was before, and we just play this back, it goes all the way to 8. You see how fast that was? It goes crazy fast. So that's because I actually spaced it out properly. You can input everything on one frame if you want to, and like, it can possibly work. It just depends on the game. That's why I was saying to do a lot of research. But on this game in particular, no, you want to at least space it out by like 2 frames. So we have that spaced out. Now we go to this frame where it actually happened, or was it? Yeah, 397. So 397 on this frame is where it got to 8. Now we're going to go down. We're going to do the exact same process. So I believe it's only going to be down twice. Yeah, down twice. And that automatically gets to S. So boom. Now, I'm not going to make it like before, right? We're just going to... I want to try to make this as fast as possible. So I'm just going to go ahead and input S a bunch of times. We're just going to leave that as the profile name. I really don't care. I'm going to do that. And I believe we can hit the start button here to just... Yeah, to just go right to end. So, start button. And another A input. Boom. Into the game, and I believe I can hit start. I'm not going to make this perfect. We're just going to hit start here. Nope. Eventually I got to find out where we can hit start. Okay, it's got to be here, yeah. So, delete more of these inputs that I have here, right? We're just going to say screw it. Just going to delete more of these inputs. Now... Yeah, we'll start right there. And just like before, with what we learned, just wait until it fades all the way in. Hit start again. Alright. Let's see. It hits start, and we got to figure out when it shows single player. There, it shows single player. Okay. A button there. A few frames later. This is basically all you're doing. This is what a TAS is. You're just trying to figure things out. Boom. A button again. And you can see that, like, since I deleted most of my inputs from before, right, we're doing things a lot faster, so these inputs really aren't showing up as often, and that's because I was using my controller to input everything, which is a lot slower than what a TAS can do. Now, let's see, it goes right to Sonic. I think you might be able to input it before Sonic actually fully goes into the screen. Nope. So yeah, that's one thing learned with Sonic Advance 2, is that you gotta wait until everything comes into view to be able to input it. Sonic! So bam, we have that. We're in Leaf Forest. So now what I'm gonna do in advance, right, just to get things rolling a lot smoother and just a lot faster here for this video to make sure it's not too long, is we're just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna scroll all the way down and just keep deleting these, right? Now this is a slow process. I'll show you guys a faster process. So this is just in case you want to try things out. Maybe you want to use your controller and you want to do like a full run of a game, and then you want to actually go back and tweak all of this. That is completely optional. You can do that, and that's how I started, but I ended up finding a method that's a lot faster for me to put out TASs, which I'm going to go over in just a second. We're just going to go ahead and delete all these inputs. Alright, so I think that's far enough. So we scrolled down pretty far from where we're at. We're at way up here. So we're up here. Let Leaf Forest load in. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So it's somewhere around here. We're going to hit 1. Alright, so Sonic is about to dash off right there. So right around here is where I kind of want to input it. So let me explain the other type of inputs. So before, when I was spacing the frames out, right, what you're doing here is you're doing individual inputs. So say if I was to put R right here, and then I put left right here. These are 2 individual inputs, right? Now, say if you were to just make a straight line like this, you see a bunch of R inputs, like all just stacked up right on top of each other, right? What that does is that holds the button down. So that counts as a button being held. Where if you were to put it spaced out, say if I was put down, right? We're putting down. Now, when they're spaced out like that, that is all of the inputs on every other frame, right? So that's just going to be like down press, down press, down press. That's going to be a press on every single frame instead of a hold. So if you guys were wondering how you hold buttons, since certain games have inputs where you have to hold buttons, that's how you do it. You just basically put them all in a line like that. And obviously you can use other stuff. Say if you were to do like a half circle or a quarter circle, something like that for fighting games or whatnot, you would do a down, down, left, left, you know, obviously know your game, know your inputs. That's basically what I'm saying here. So right here, boom, Sonic comes out the gate. We're just going to put a bunch of these because every, like, it's going to be scrolling by pretty fast. Like, every 100 frames is going to go pretty quick. So what you want to do is just go ahead and just input it in advance. So there we go. We got Sonic running. We got him running, right? Now we come up to where the first jump would happen. So obviously you can do it wherever you want. Try to space this out. You're going to have to go back. Maybe you might have to delete a few of these. You know what I mean? Sonic might have to, if you want him to jump somewhere at the end right here, at the end of this platform, or if you want him to jump earlier, I'm going to have him jump earlier. So, and the rule is in most Sonic games that if you hold down the jump button, you will go higher, where if you just tap the jump button, you'll get a short hop. So we're going to hold it down for a few frames right there. That should be good enough. Sonic's going to jump. Boom. Right? So now I see that Sonic did not go far, right? That's because he's on a slope. So I know a few things about Sonic games, so what we're going to do here, we're going to extend this a little bit. Now Sonic is on flat ground. So now that he's on flat ground, go ahead, input the A button. Boom. There we go. So now Sonic made the jump, and let me go back a little bit. And before he lands, I'm going to hold right. That way he just keeps his momentum going a little bit, right? Goes and launches off. Now, I know how to play this game, so we're just going to do up and right. Oops, not right. I actually meant to do up and R button. So that gives him a trick, right? Let's do forward. So, bam. He does the spin. So he gets the spin off. So basically, all of that just culminates to you just inputted everything perfectly. That's basically how a TAS works. Is just you're inputting everything perfectly. So we're not going to mess around with the rest of this. Like I said, I'm going to show you guys an actual like example of how to do it in a faster way. So let's just go ahead and check this out in full speed. So Green Forest loads in. I'm not Green Forest. Leaf Forest. Loads in. And we're just going to see Sonic do his thing for a little bit. Go ahead, bam, puts in all the inputs. You know what I mean? Something nice and simple. You can optimize it as much as you want, but you've seen Sonic moving exactly how I wanted him to move, right? So obviously you can go back, you can tweak it, you can do a lot of things. But that's basically how it's going to look. Now, let's go and do this again, right? This is what we're going to do. We're going to cancel this out. I'm not going to keep the changes. And what we're going to do is we're going to load this back up again. GBA. Actually, no, I can just reset. Yeah, let me go to reset. Oops, I forgot to hit no on there. I was wondering why the TAS Studio didn't go away yet. That's why. Need to reboot core. Okay, there we go. I was wondering why it wasn't resetting. Okay, so we got the game. Now, let's go and do this again, right? Here's a little thing that is going to make this process a lot better. So, before, you know how I said that you could just input your buttons if you want to? If you actually want to, like, play through the game and just input everything? That's all well and good, but that's going to take forever. Because now you have to play through the whole game, and you have to go back to the beginning, and you have to edit everything again. So, let's do it this way. Also, before I go into that, actually, there is one thing I needed to add, which is when you're doing these, just to make sure that you don't get your TASs mixed up. I'm just going to delete these two. This is from my run of Run Saber and the default that we just made. Let me go ahead and delete those. So let's just put this as a Sonic Advance 2. So you can name it anything you want, but yeah, go to save as and save it as whatever you want, and then it will show up on the top. So SA2, which is, you know, it's obviously Sonic Adventure 2 is what that would mean, but, you know, obviously in this case we're playing Sonic Advance. So Sonic Advance 2, TAS, just so you can name your project. And we're going to do the same thing that we kind of did before, except for we're not going to use the controller. So we're going to go and resume this. I'm going to hit record. So now it's recording the inputs. Now, after it recorded a few inputs, we turn that off. So you just press Q, or you can go down to the bottom left here and you can actually hit record, but I just like to press Q to record. So you hit record, then you pause the recording. So now that's not recording, right? It already recorded for a few frames, but you're all good to go. So what it's going to do is, here's the cutoff, right? Right where I ended up stopping the recording. So now you see that it's all white right here, right? White, a little bit of like the tannish color here. The rest of the game will still load in when you go to that part, like when you get that far, right? So let's just go ahead. And right there, it's already passed it, right? So that doesn't do anything. It's not going to mess up the game. It's not going to mess up your tasks. It ain't going to mess up anything. So it just goes past that point, but it's still loaded the whole rest of the game. This game is still loaded, so you're all good to go. But instead of inputting everything and having to play through the game and just having to fix stupid mistakes and yada yada, right? This is what we can do. We can basically just eliminate the whole inputting controller inputs, and we can just go ahead and just make the test. So that's basically what it does. You can just go right ahead and you put in all the inputs as you would before. So everything that I just shown a few minutes ago, you can just accomplish that without having to put in any inputs. Now, if you want to put in inputs, completely up to you. But for me, I would rather save a lot of time, so I would just go right ahead and just, boom, start inputting stuff and get right to the task at work. Obviously, I didn't wait long enough. Boom, there we go. So I basically just do the same thing as I did before. You basically get the picture. So now that I've shown exactly how to make the task, what I am going to do is I'm going to show you real quick what it looks like when your task is finished. And I'm also going to show you a full task, like an actual task that like I spent time on. So I will be doing the same game. I'll be doing Sonic Advance 2, and I'll show you what the first level looks like when you actually optimize it, like when you actually go through all the inputs and you do everything correctly. But just as a heads up, when you are done with your tasks, right, you go to File, then you export to BK2 file. If you actually have an app or something like that on your desktop that will change the BK2 file to an MP4 file, then you can use that. But for me, what I personally do is I export to BK2 file. I'm just going to do this as an example. So we're just going to export to BK2. So we're all good right there, right? And everything's saved. Save changes, sure. So then we get rid of the Task Studio. And then you're going to go to File over here. And you're going to go to Movie. So now that the BK2 file is there, you can now play the movie back. And as you can see, it's right there. All the information on here on the side, platform, you know, how long it was recorded, all of that. So you can come back here and you press play and you hit resume on the emulator and it'll play back everything that you did. So what I usually do is I capture this window in my Streamlabs OBS and I will record everything that goes on here. So I'll play it back and then record it. So the reason why I do that is because I don't have an app or anything that can change a BK2 file to an MP4 file. So this is kind of my alternative of, you know, recording my tasks, basically. I'm recording the task inside the windows, and then I'm recording it again in OBS. It's a very long process and everything, but it is free. So that's kind of the reason why I do it, because I don't really want to pay for like another like outside program or whatever to do all of this, like just to change the file and whatnot. But yeah, guys, I hope this was informative for you. And if you have any questions, or if you have anything to add to this, maybe you're more experienced in TASs than I am, and you have some things that you could show me, then by all means, definitely put it down in the comments. And yeah, I will show you guys what it looks like when you have an optimized TAS, and I'm going to be showing you the first level of Sonic Advance 2. So another thing I want to add is, in case you guys have any questions on like why would you do a TAS, what's the point of a TAS, and you know, those type of questions, which if you want to ask me more, you can just ask me in the comments below, but just to answer it for this video, is you kind of want to see, well, from my point of view, you kind of want to see what the human limits are and just like exactly what a CPU can do. So a CPU can input everything perfectly, you know, a computer can just do everything perfectly, where we can't. Us as humans, we have a limit. We can only do one frame things. We can't do it every single frame. We can do one frame executions and stuff like that, but we can't do it every single frame. We can't do everything perfectly. We're gonna hold buttons too long. We're gonna press them too soon. You know, there's a lot of things. We can't do everything perfectly, but a computer can do everything perfectly. So it's just really cool to look at. Like, I've watched a bunch of other people create TASs, and I just think it's amazing because you just get blown away with how creative a lot of people can get. And me being a speedrunner myself, and amongst a bunch of other people as well, is that it can also help with speedrunning, because you end up finding these glitches and tricks that at first is only possible to a TAS, but if you keep digging a little bit more and you end up finding different ways to make it feasibly possible for a human to do it, then it ends up opening up new things. You end up having new discoveries in speedrunning, and you know, it's really great for stuff like that. And who knows, if somebody were to dig deep enough, maybe you could find some new stuff for fighting games as well, and all kinds of other stuff, RPGs, whatever. Like, it just, obviously the whole concept of making a TAS is just endless, because you can use any game, you can use any method, you can do whatever you want with it. Your creative freedom just runs wild. So that's the reason why I end up making TASs. It's because I want to just show off really cool things in games, and just kind of get that same reaction from other people that I've had watching other people's TAS videos. That's how I got inspired to make them myself. And it really is a hard and grueling process, and it's definitely not easy. So definitely, if you see anybody make a TAS, not just myself, but just anyone make a TAS, definitely give them the props that they deserve, definitely. Because, you know, they have spent probably hours, days, weeks, even months. Depends on how long the game is, months, years to complete TASs. And you would never have a clue unless they told you. So yeah, I hope this gives a lot of insight on creating a TAS and how to make one, and I really hope that you guys learn a lot from this. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you guys like this video. Share it out. Hit like. Hit the bell notification if you do subscribe. That way you can keep up to date with all of my TAS videos and super plays and all of that. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a nice day. This is SpeedKing 125. Peace out.